Hey guys, continuity is a cruel mistress. Um, I I did a video, a Bat video, many days ago now, on these same books and Batman Eternal and Batgirl number 35, Batman Eternal number 27, and then I took it down. So a few of you may have seen that. I thought it was terrible, and I took it down. And I thought I would make another one sooner than I ended up doing so. But I still don't fully know what to say about Batgirl. And I think, along with me being really sleepy in that other video, that bogged me down. I also have on my mind things I've heard about Batman 35. I haven't read Batman 35, the new arc of Scott Snyder and Craig Capullo's Batman run. But I know enough from what people have said that and I guess I even read in interviews with Snyder that it takes place after all the events, after the full Batman Eternal run is over, which may be like another 25 issues or something. And and that I just started thinking about continuity and the ways in which that really trips us up, because all the time in Batman Eternal we as readers are trying to figure out what the New 52 continuity is. And then in Batgirl 35, it seems like they've, in terms of character and what she's been through, are throwing out all of Batgirl's continuity. They are publicly saying they are not, and that they are honoring the past continuity. But clearly they are not honoring the character that was Batgirl, and that's really hard for us, those of us who've been reading the whole New 52 Batgirl run. Those of us who overdo the following things online and going to all the gossip sites and the news sites on the internet knew that we were up for a radical change. But a lot of people did not really know that, because it is Batgirl 35. It really should have been Batgirl number 1, a clear, obvious reboot. It should at least say on the cover, an all-new Batgirl or something like that. I mean, I think they feel this picture is an announcement of their new intentions, but it's still, I think even people who knew, it was a bit more than they expected, perhaps. I went into it with mixed feelings. I really liked Gail Simone's Batgirl run for the most part. I felt like it was constantly interfered with editorially by crossovers. They kicked Gail Simone off one issue. They brought in another substitute at one point, I think, Marguerite Benedict. But at the core of it was the character, the psychology of of Barbara Gordon as Gail Simone created her. And this issue so completely throws that out that it is a very abrupt, very jarring experience for readers who've been reading it all along, and particularly bad for readers who really liked and were really interested in that Barbara Gordon, who had a rich psychological life, and was a complex, serious person. On the other hand, I have been wanting more light comics. I have been wanting comics that you can give to kids, and I had some hopes that this might be that, or at least this does turn out to be a comic written for people in their 20s, which may be younger than the average fan now, certainly very much younger than me. And so I think the real judges of this, in a sense, are the people in their 20s. So all my judgments on it could be way off. And I'm hearing a lot of people online, or not online, on YouTube, who are just honest folks talking to each other, being kind of confused by all of this. The more slick or professional online places are all falling in line and saying this is a great change, and they aren't very critical of it. So I'm immensely critical of it for the changes, but if I divorce myself from that past reading experience and just view this as a reboot, new number one, I find pluses and minuses. But a big minus in the character of Barbara Gordon, and perhaps related to that, the character of her new circle of friends. And part of me feels guilty because part of the problem is this kind of issue of sluttiness and drinking. And I love the Rat Queens, which is all about this group of young women who are very good swordswomen in some kind of Dungeons and Dragons type of world, who are rowdy, drinker, carousers, sleeper arounds with men, and it's great fun. And I really like these characters. But somehow I did not like Barbara Gordon and her new roommates and people she has parties with. Just the way, first of all, it's totally a different story when you're dealing with a superhero than when you're dealing with a barbarian. If a superhero is drinking and sleeping around, it just has it needs to be handled in a different way. And it feels like in here, it's handled like that's just evidence of how cool she is and how cool her friends are. And even the fact at the end that her friend slept with the guy she was making out with on the same night. So she made out with this dude at the party earlier at the party and got drunk and couldn't remember it. And her friend sent her to bed, and then her friend slept with the same guy. And that is taken as just sort of light, frothy coolness. Sure, there could be a comic book like that, but I wouldn't necessarily like the characters. I feel like I'm supposed to like Barbara Gordon. I ought to, as a reader of Batgirl. Maybe that's just my prejudice going in. And I think I feel like the writers, who are men, who are, I believe, men in their 30s, one of them perhaps quite late 30s or even early 40s, because I just saw them in a video. Jared Fletcher had a lot of gray in his beard and his hair. That I feel like from reading this that they want me to think this behavior makes them even more cool. And that's where I have problems. A great comic book, which I can share with my young daughter, about a teenage woman, Kamala Khan in Ms. Marvel. She may be trying to be cool at times, but she has insecurities, difficulties. She feels very human. Now, the cool kids are human underneath and everything, but this just gives us their cool facade so far. Maybe the writers are going somewhere else with all this. It seems like a difficult angle to go with Batgirl, to make her a drinker, a partier, and to hang out with, just rings wrong to be hanging out with these people who steal each other's one-night stands from each other. It just doesn't feel right, even though I love that same thing in Rat Queens. I can't quite explain it. I think that somehow Barbara and her friends, as of this issue, I mean, it might change in future issues, feel like people who, when I was 22, I would not have liked. I might have wished they dated me because they were pretty or something, but I wouldn't have really liked them. And I would have, if I did get a chance to date them, would quickly have not wanted to date them. It would have been a big mistake for me to date the girls in Rat Queens also, but I would have liked them, I think. So, how many of the readers of comic books and of stories in general relate to the cool, slick kids. That might be, part of my question. Even in Archie comics, although Betty and Veronica are gorgeous, it kind of focuses on their insecurities and their problems, maybe too much. There are things in Betty and Veronica that make those girls, those almost women, feel a bit weak at times. But that's a whole other thing. What I did like is I liked the density of the story. I liked the way they worked out a plot. I really do like this cover art. I was okay with the interior art. I think it needed better coloring, perhaps, to help it out. The colorist just wasn't the right colorist for it, I don't think. I kind of enjoy comics that stop for a page or two and have a conversation like that when I'm in the right mood for it. It's very different than what you're expecting when you pick up a superhero comic. So, kind of following the Hawkeye and Superior Foes of Spider-Man kind of trend, I kind of approve of that. But just somehow it didn't land right for me. And I know of at least one person out there who really loved it, and other people who hated it, and other people who are kind of unsure what they feel about it, what they think about it. I can't tell if the lingo and the intensity of the use of technology is correct, for this group of people. When I was more involved with people who might be called hipsters or who were young and doing lots of exciting urban things, we didn't have the same technology. And, I like to think I was probably around those people until meeting my wife, because I knew people of all ages. So, that also leads me to like the girls in Rat Queens, and they remind me of people I know, and these people remind me of people I didn't like. But it may be a sort of cynicalness of these men who are writing it. Again, I'm a man trying to judge the veracity of a man writing about women. A deep quagmire there. I think I will try one more issue because of some of the aspects I liked. Like I showed that page where she's traveling through her memory. There's some kind of cool stuff. My understanding is all the layouts, paneling and everything was done by Cameron Stewart, who's a very talented artist. And then Babs Tarr just did her thing over those layouts. So yeah, it may turn out that eventually this is a really good comic for what it's doing. More in the Hawkeye, somewhere between Hawkeye and Archie comics or something. But I suspect, this got huge orders or reorders or whatever at comic book stores as the images were released. I think this image of Batgirl is extremely appealing to lots of people and to lots of girls. It's maybe a more approachable costume. It looks like she's having fun. But their idea of fun for her just kind of didn't work quite right. And as I mentioned, continuity-wise, how is she going to fit into any of the DC continuity? And the reason that, it's another, here I am, I want more comics for girls because I have a daughter, and that makes me more aware of that problem. And I want more comics for young people because I think comics, are such a great medium. We want it to be for everybody. And I want less continuity because I think continuity is breaking, it's gotten so crazy. Part of why I jumped on the New 52. But when they're kind of selling us things with continuity, like the whole idea of Batman Eternal was that it was going to be kind of a thing that sets up the whole continuity for the Bat world, for the Gotham world, for the continuity in it to be so messed up, and then for Batman, the central Batman title, which is Batman by Scott Snyder, and now coming up Catwoman, and I have a feeling Gotham After Midnight will probably be the same way. All of these books are going to be happening after Batman Eternal ended, before Batman Eternal ended, and so they don't even want to. They're trying to sell us things on the continuity, because also continuity is a way to sell us more things. This Batman links up to that one, links up to Catwoman, links up to this. So it's all one big story in a way, one mega story. That helps them sell more comics, but then they don't even want to stick with it. And that really pisses me off at the moment. I was on the fence about whether to go back to picking up the Snyder Batman in floppies. I was trade waiting. I saw the price go up. I figured I'd trade wait. That, along with hearing that the continuity was beginning later, which already cast a little doubt, and now completely spoiled by the day after Batman 35 or 35 came out, was who the villain is going to be. So a lot of the details that are coming out from the regular Batman kind of now reverse spoil Batman Eternal, because we know somewhat where the end point of a bunch of characters will be, like Julia Pennyworth. On its own, I enjoyed this issue. I'm kind of reading Batman Eternal now as a flawed but interesting thing. And I still kind of look through it for clues about who the big bad is, and wonder which characters like Julia Pennyworth will become bigger parts of the Bat universe. And clearly she is a part of the Bat universe because she's already at the future of this book in Batman. The art was decent, with some very good coloring. There was some fun stuff with the villain with the menagerie in his house. I feel like that was probably a Tim Seeley touch. There was some fun stuff with Killer Croc as kind of a little bit of a noble savage, a little bit of a Robin Hood, fighting for the underdog. Neither part of the criminal world nor part of the superhero world. Crazy, wacky details of what this woman running the brothel looks like. This was an issue that goes back to having lots of story threads, but the story threads are now closer together, although there's some story threads that we haven't seen in a long time which aren't. And you could be disappointed, but I've gotten used to it, that the cliffhanger of last issue doesn't appear at all in this issue, which was that Alfred is shut in a cell with the Joker's daughter at Arkham Asylum. And given that they ended last issue with a big splash of that, you would think we would get more in this issue, but you don't. But we're also kind of used to that with Batman Eternal. Fun little detail with spoiler and a note she leaves Batman, even though it kind of makes Batman look a little foolish. It still was a fun detail. It was fun to see this villain, the Flamingo. So yeah, basically a fun issue. I think the thing that bothered me most, ironically, because I've been complaining about Barbara Gordon, was Barbara Gordon attacks the commissioner, the new commissioner, takes him up into a high building and hangs him by one foot, basically torturing him to try to, I guess, force him to free her dad. It's kind of understandable that she would go off half-cocked because she's all angry and dark about her father being treated this way, but it's certainly not a good approach. And you would think she would think of some other things, and I would think the writer, even if the writer is thinking she's angry, because it felt like the writer just thought, well, this is how Batgirl solves problems. She hangs people from buildings. But it's such a cliche. I wish the writer had taken time to think of a better way for Barbara Gordon to react and to approach Commissioner Bard and do other things to try to free her father. I think that was my biggest complaint about this issue. So yeah, I will talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.